Hello, my name is Luca Petko, and today I will be educating you about the White Rose. I will talk to you about who they were, what they did to take a stand against oppression, and how they took a stand against oppression. Adolf Hitler became the leader of Germany in 1933. His rise to power was enabled by the failure of the Weimar Republic, economic hardships, and the general feeling in the population that the Allied forces had treated Germany unfairly after World War I. Therefore, his promise of making Germany great again resonated with the majority of the people. Unfortunately, ideas of superiority of race played a main role in the Nazi ideology, leading to systematic oppression of Jews and other minorities, culminating in the Night of Shattered Glass, or Reichskristallnacht, in 1938, and Jews were deported to concentration camps by the thousands. Ideas of world domination and extinction of the Jewish race led Hitler into World War II with the attack on Poland on September 1st, 1939. As the atrocities of war and against Jews became known to certain more educated circles of society, the White Rose formed in 1942. The White Rose was a group formed mostly of students attending Ludwig-Maximilians University in Munich. It was an anti-Nazi movement that protested Hitler's evil and unfair treatment of Jews and other minority groups. The group consisted of 6 active members, and the 3 most famous members of the group were Sophie Scholl, a young biology student at the University of Munich, Hans Scholl, Sophie Scholl's brother, a medical student at the University of Munich, and Christoph Probst, a medical student at the same university as the Scholl siblings. There were other silent supporters, including a university professor. The White Rose had the temerity to stand up to the Nazi regime, knowing that if they were caught in action and connected to the actions, they would likely be sentenced to death. The main accomplishment of the White Rose was the creation and distribution of the 6 leaflets that called for the German people to take action against the injustices committed by the Nazi regime, and they spread the leaflets throughout the University of Munich and eventually the cities of Munich, Stuttgart, Ulm, and Augsburg. Hans Scholl and his friends had been moved to fight in Russia for the German army, and they were appalled by how unfairly the Germans treated the Russians and the Jews. They described these experiences in the leaflets to inform the people of Germany of what their own government was doing to minorities. The German secret police, also known as the Gestapo, was tracking the activities of the White Rose and ordered anybody who knew anything to speak up. While distributing their 6th and final leaflet, Sophie, Hans, and Christoph were caught by a Nazi janitor who took it upon himself to get them arrested. They were taken away and put into prison. During interrogations, they initially denied all charges, but later Hans made the altruistic attempt to assume all responsibility for the leaflets. Eventually, after a very brief and unfair trial, all students were sentenced to death by Judge Roland Freisler, and they were executed shortly thereafter. The remaining members of the White Rose were also arrested and executed. Sophie Scholl said during the trial, quote, "Somebody after all had to make a stand. What we wrote is also believed by many others. They just don't dare to express themselves as we did," unquote. I believe this statement sums up the conviction of the members of the White Rose well. In trying to analyze the historical importance of the White Rose, I believe that these young students did something that most people wouldn't do and wouldn't be capable of. They put their life on the line, hoping for a better future for their country without oppression. These students were very brave to defend their beliefs. They knew that fighting the Nazi government and its ideology could lead to execution if they were caught distributing their leaflets, which were their version of social media. Most people in Germany who despised the Nazis were too afraid to take a stand. Out of fear of the consequences, they would try to fit in and act as it was expected of them. The kind of mentality these students displayed, and the willpower for them to keep resisting their own evil government for so long, was very brave. They took a stand while others looked away from what was happening. Sometimes I wonder if I would have had the strength and bravery to take a stand, or if I would have just fit in. I guess the future will tell for me as a person. While the White Rose is not as well known in the United States, in Germany they are prime examples of individuals or small groups taking a stand against injustices forced upon the people by the government. Therefore, there are many monuments and street names commemorating their stand in history.